Well, on Wednesday, November 15th, 2017, of course, today was New Comic Book Day, but unfortunately, my comic book shop did not get their books in. They were told there was a delay and it was still sitting in the distribution center, so they're hoping to get those books tomorrow. So I ran around today because there was a specific book I wanted to get, and I was able to find 2 copies of it, and that is part of the Batman Metal Tie-Ins, Dark Knights #1, Who Laughs storyline. If you look at that cover, with all the different Joker faces on there. Really, really nice. This sold out real quick here, locally here in Las Vegas. I'm sure it's going to sell out everywhere else because there's just something about this book, besides it being a really nice Joker cover, that just kind of screams bigger story arc down the road or something that, you know, is definitely going to pop on that. So if you have the opportunity to get that, pick up a couple right there. So I thought, okay, well, since I don't have any new books to show, what am I going to do for my comic book video today? And I've been getting a lot of requests for grading videos. Now, I don't have the best camera and setup in the world. I don't have all these fancy cameras where, you know, it shows me and it shows my book. So I thought I would do a grading video and just kind of explain to you what I look for when grading a book. Now, before we get started on that, grading is very subjective. It is not something that is an exact science. But for those of you who know me, for those of you who've been to my shop, who have purchased books from me, know that my grading is very accurate, very spot on. I'm a very difficult grader. My books are usually undergraded. That's why people like to come to my shop when I had it, because they were able to buy books that I would grade a 6.57 that other people would grade an 8.59. Don't believe me? Just talk to some people who've done business with me and they'll tell you, yeah, his grading is very accurate. So I thought, you know what, I'll try to explain how I do it. It's not an exact science again, but I'm very consistent, and it just kind of gives you an idea of how I do things or what I look for that I think is important, which I've kind of learned over the course of the last 5-6 years. These are the areas that are the most important when grading a book, and these are where your grades are going to come in from. Just talking to people in general. Excuse me. So we're going to jump on it right now. I'm going to adjust the camera. And again, I'm sorry in advance for the bad camera angles, but that's the best I could do. The book we are going to grade is a Submariner #4 from 1968. Now, I would normally wear white cotton gloves when doing this, but this is not going to be a high-grade book. So I couldn't find my gloves, and I wasn't too concerned about it because I have a higher grade of this book already. So we will jump right in this. The first thing I look at when I look at a book is the cover and how much reflectability of light the cover has, how much gloss it has left on it. Okay? Because believe it or not, a lot of people still buy their books based off of how nice the cover looks. I will always use a flashlight, and I take a closer look at it only because there are things a flashlight might pick up that you might not see with the naked eye, even under a good lighted surface. You need a good lighted surface, good flat surface, and nothing around. So we're looking at this here. There are a little bit of issues on the spine with some spine breaks. Not significant spine breaks, not deep spine breaks, but still a couple of color breaks on there. So overall, that's pretty good. There's a blunted corner, upper right, upper left. Lower right looks pretty good. Lower left looks pretty decent. So overall, the cover is pretty good. A lot of people don't believe in the back cover. I always believed in the back cover. Looking at the back cover looks pretty good. There is starting to become a little bit of tanning. There's a big difference between tanning and browning. When it starts becoming more darker brown, it becomes more brittle, and that is death to a book. This is tanning. Tanning is something that is accepted, because the paper that was used in these books, again, this one being from 1968, is very cheap paper, and it is going to break up over time and start to discolor and brown and tan out. So this is a pretty good book right here, front and back. It's not bad. They're going to be very acceptable in the grade that I'm going to look at. The next thing I look at is how tight the cover is attached to the rest of the book. They talk about loose, you know, you open those books sometimes and you see in the crease where it's just kind of pulled off a little bit. This looks really tight. It looks really, really good. Again, you're getting a little bit of the tanning on the cover inside, on the edges, but it has not affected the rest of the book. So it's in the early stages of this discoloration. The next thing I'm going to do is you want to make sure that you have a complete book. We've discussed coupons and everything else. So I will go page by page. If you don't know, a lot of times, some of these books, you're reading the storyline. When you get to an advertisement, like here's page 3, page 4 technically is an advertisement, but they don't count this, and this is page 4, is the next one. So you have 5, 6, 2 advertisements. So this next page here should be 7. There's 7, 8. And 9. Full page advertisement. I love these advertisements. There's 10, 11. You have the centerfold. Centerfold, most important thing about the centerfold. Securely attached at both staples. This one is securely attached at both staples. You can see that. So that looks pretty good so far. Again, the page quality, the paper quality for the inside of the book is pretty nice. I have no question. I have no issues with that right there. Really nice book. Nice, nice, nice. All the coupons appear to be intact. There doesn't appear to be anything missing. There's no significant tears. And we are good and complete. Again, inside you have a little bit of tanning starting here, but overall that is a pretty good book. It's centered right. It looks nice. It's not horrible. We've talked about the foxing. Now, if you don't believe me on that, I'm going to put this back in the Mylar here, only because I don't want it to stay out. So here we go. If you don't believe me on the foxing, if you look at the accurate guides, the Overstreet guides right here, the most important thing about that is they have adjusted acceptable foxing over the years. A few years ago, 8.0 was the highest you can have with foxing, and that's a little bit of foxing. In this new book here, 9.4, if you look at it, which is a near mint book, 9.4 is near mint. Under soiling and staining, none allowed under soiling and staining, which would be you spill a drink, dirt, smudge, something of that nature. You dropped a piece of food on it, when you were a kid. None allowed except for slight foxing. There it is, slight foxing. So the grade that I would be comfortable giving this book. Now I've seen people who would give this book a 6.5, a 7, because it is pretty much a nice book, and you know what I'm talking about in that. Me personally, I'm going to give this book a 5.5. I give it a fine minus. Again, my grading standards are very tough. That's why people like that. You buy a book from me, you're going to get the book in the grade that you said it is. So we're going to go to the fine plus, or the fine minus, 5.5. Bindery defects we didn't have. Cover exterior, we talked about some of the issues. Minor surface wear showing with heightened yellowing or tanning allowed. We know that there was a little bit of tanning on the inside. We talked about that. Wear at the corners are more common. We did have some wear on the corners we talked about. Ink shows a major reduction in reflectability. This has good reflectability on it. Not great, but better than a major reduction. Minor to moderate creases. We did have some spine ticks on here, some color breaks. We talked about nothing horrible. It doesn't look real bad. Stamped or inked arrival dates. We don't have that. That is allowed. And staining and foxing may be present. There was no staining on this book, and there is no foxing on this book. There is an issue with some tanning, and we've discussed that. It allows for a minor spine roll. We don't have a minor spine roll on this here. Staples were still looking good. They were tight. We've talked about all that there. Papers brown and tan to fairly supple with no signs of brittleness. There is no brittleness on this book. Centerfold was not loose. Now it says it could be loose but not detached. It was not loose at all. It was a tight centerfold. There are some minor interior tears may be present, and when they talk about the interior tears, they're talking about the bindery tears inside the pages. Let me see if I can show you one. That is an acceptable issue. This is what I look at it as. Let me see if I can find one here. I don't know if you can see that right there, but there you have a bindery tear right there. Is a little, you can see where they're making the cuts on the books. That is acceptable in this grade of 5.5. It's acceptable in higher grades. But again, I want people to look at the books and say, yeah, that's an awesome book, and I'm locked in on that. Corners were blunted. We had that. Interior tears. They say this allowed minor tears. There is no acid odor. There's no missing pieces. And there is no coupons cut out. They also show you what is acceptable picture-wise with some of these books. I do enjoy that as well. I'm looking at the Human Torch. They had 5.5, and I can definitely tell you I would grade that a lot lower than a 5.5. But again, my grading is very difficult. So I am not going to get into specifics about certain things right now. I can save that for later. This is how I grade books. Those are the things I look at. The cover, spine, how tight is it? That's all very important when you're doing the book. Again, I wish I had a better camera to show you. This was just kind of a real quick video. I wish I had a camera where I can do, you know, a 25-minute grading video, but I don't. I'm real short on time with this camera. So that's what I do. So pretty much that's what it is for the grading video. Probably wasn't the greatest video in the world, but I hope it gave you some information. And again, you can always send me questions. I'll be happy to answer for you. So I hope you liked the video. But as always, if you didn't, nothing I can do for you. Have a great night, and I'll see you again next week.